Welcome to the Narrate podcast, where we aim to tell God's story with our lives. We'll be continuing to post the Sunday message each week, but we want to dive a little deeper and offer some content to supplement your life with God, and that's where our Beyond Sunday series comes in. Join Adam and Narrate staff as they provide thoughtful discussions, ideas, and interviews that go beyond the message you'll hear on Sunday.
Hi, thanks for listening in. I'm sitting here with JoLin, who also is on our council, and her and I the Monday morning same Monday morning that Jeff flew out, we got on an airplane and flew to Kansas City along with Doris, which was really fun to have her with us, to go to something called a Made to Flourish workshop. I don't know what they called it. Was it a workshop? Conference thingamajig?
Yeah, I called it a conference.
Yeah. There's there must have been 50 of us in a really neat hotel in downtown Kansas City. How would you explain to people listening what Made to Flourish is all about?
So I did a little reading before we went, but also that was just the beginning of the conference. I'm talking about who they are and what they do. And, we have this handy little booklet that says beginning and sustaining a pastoral residency. But really what I came away with is that they have a mission for building up leadership in the church world, and just an effective way to do that, because church leaders or future church leaders, they might go to seminary and learn the theology part, but they don't get the hands-on of what it's actually like to lead a church, all the other parts of it. So they want to help churches to offer residencies where maybe people who have gone to seminary or recent grads can actually work in a church with a leader and experience it, to give them that experience before they go out and be a leader on their own. And they just want to create that so churches can support that and just have a program of supporting that in the future. Yeah,
that's really good. Yeah, I mean, to me, the C4SO language is they want to stoke in churches an imagination for recurring residencies. And actually asked Teresa, because they, throughout the conference, use this analogy of a doctor doing a residency is a doctor. They're just learning how to still function as a doctor, and they use that scrub sink, whatever analogy or metaphor or whatever that was, that a surgeon really learns how to do surgery at the scrub sink before and after the surgery when standing next to the senior surgeon. And asked Teresa if that was typical of surgery, and she goes, yeah, that does kind of line up. It'd be interesting to hear from Paul Gorsuch if that's certainly him and Lee have done residencies, if that was kind of how they trained doctors. So we went, let's see here, what's the back context? C4SO had a church planning kind of summit in DC in September that they invited 10 churches. We were among them, where they again started kind of just planting this idea of what does it look like to be a church that plants churches. You were were you part of Journey when it was planted? How far into Journey did you jump into that?
I wasn't part of Journey when it was planted, but it was a little while after, because they were at their big building.
Oh, they were out of
they were out of town.
They were out of the Christian high school or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. Have you been a part of a church plant before then?
I have not.
You've been a part of startups in a business world before? You were part of Young Life in a startup, but that was probably established.
Young Life, when I was a part of that, was established. Not really a startup, besides, networking in my prior business life, just networking with people who were starting up, just that whole, community. You network and you help each other out and gain knowledge from others. But I've never been a part of planting something.
When did you, as a council person, when did you start thinking about what does it look like for Narrate to plant churches? Can you even remember?
Probably really early on. I think probably in budget talks.
Yeah, that's right. Okay.
Just because that's always been a part of, if you're going to plant a church, there's financial part of that. So that's always been a talk in the budget.
I'm trying to think of when this stirred back up for me, because I mean, I was a part of a church plant at 20, and that was really fun. And then we planted Journey, even though I was kind of just adjacent to that. And then this, but I think it was when Brad was here in February of 25, and the more he listened to our story, I think he was the one that helped me to see that the church planting history of Narrate and the churches that we were a part of is actually really vibrant and strong. And I would say, it'd be interesting to ask other council people that have been there from the beginning. I would say that we've always talked about it. We just always expected that it would happen when the person showed up, like there'd be this obvious staff person or something, and that's what would cause it to happen. And that just never did. And so I think what happened to me was then when we were in DC, actually the trainer pointed out, statistically, if a church doesn't plant a church in the first 10 years, they're really unlikely to. And Teresa, who was with me, when asked, like, so why hasn't Narrate? Like, you guys are in your 16th year, and what makes you think you will? And her comment was the stability of the staff. That we have such a good staff right now, and it's so stable and healthy that that's kind of how the creative process works. It's hard to be creative when you're stressed, I guess. And that's what's kind of, I think, along with C4SO stuff, has expanded our imagination to go like, wait a minute, maybe we should be doing this, and maybe we could do this.
Yeah, I think church planning for Narrate has always kind of been in the back of my mind, just because very early on I knew that Narrate was planted.
Yeah.
But where it really resurfaced in my mind relatively recently is when we went through the generosity series. And I don't know why it made a connection. Well, I can tell you why it made a connection in my mind. Because going through the generosity series, there was just, so much talk about time, talents, and treasures. Like, how can you be generous with your time, with your talents, and with your treasures? And then you know that Narrate came from a plant. And then you look at Narrate, not just the staff, the council, all of the owners in Narrate. Like, we have amazing resource in all of those: time, talent, and treasures.
Wow.
And if we're generous people, it just seems like we should share that. Yeah. Like, we have so much to give as a group.
Wow, that's a really good that's a really good perspective. And we have so many, like, healthy, vibrant 30-something, 20-something couples. Not that church plants are only comprised of those, but those tend to be the type of people who embrace the adventure of moving to a new town and doing this thing. So I would argue that's also a part of that generosity of this, like, sending away really good people. I just met with somebody yesterday who was like, if it was here, I might end up a part of that, which is like, oh, I'd hate to see you go. And I guess that's what you're saying. Be generous.
Yeah, and going to this conference, it just made me realize this is one tool we can consider, but there's just so much to explore in how we can be generous in this way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the people of Narrate have so much to offer, and there's so many people that would be good mentors, and we're good financial stewards, so we can mentor in that way too.
Yeah, and I guess that's also part of it is there's this history of our council's managed money well, and it takes a lot of money and a lot of generosity to plant a church. I mean, we were given $250,000 when we came here in 2009. That's a ton of money.
Yeah.
It came from somewhere. So we're not, I guess to be very clear and respectful of the council, like, no final decisions have been made. We haven't, like, officially said we're planting a church, or even we're going to pursue a residency, or even that we're going to apply for this money, though I'd be surprised if we don't. But do you want to frame for them, like, kind of at the 30,000 foot level, what does a partnership with Made to Flourish look like if we chose to enter into one or apply for one?
Yeah, so They have a grant funding process, so you would apply for grant funds, which assists you financially to have a resident, but they also assist you with collaboration. Like, it sounds like they have cohort meetings with other churches, people who have done it in the past. So, you know, if you have questions along the way, they're there to support you in that. And then they have a commitment time period, 5 years, it sounded like. And while it is a grant, there is a giving back portion of that grant. And it's not,
got that question answered.
Yeah, and it's not giving back all of it. It's a portion, but really over the term of the 5 years of having a residency program that they financially support, it seems like the goal is that at the end of 5 years, you're able to continue that without their support.
Yeah.
You're growing into having your own residency program without their support.
Yeah, I mean, I think what they call it the cliff at the end of 5 years. So part of qualifying is they're willing to front load it in the first year and then less so every year after. But you've got to be able to convince them by way of your own giving trends and economic model that by the 6th year, you'll have picked up the slack to continue to fund residencies. So that's no easy thing either. But it can become as much as like they give you $1 and you give them back $0.25 6 years later.
Yeah.
Which is pretty crazy. That was eye-opening to me of how much in the Bible Belt in particular it would seem highly affluent people leave their money, who love the kingdom, leave their money in these foundations that then places like Made to Flourish, I guess, compete for the right to like invest that money on the kingdom's behalf in these unique ways. Like that was all very foreign to me.
Yeah, so they it sounds like there's maybe a family foundation or just someone who left a whole bunch of money earmarked for this purpose, and they're basically being stewards of this money.
Really cool.
Yeah.
Speaking of generosity.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. Yeah, what are the next steps then? Obviously, there's lots of conversations that we need to have with council and management team around, is God calling us to this? I guess passively then, even this podcast is an invitation for people to join us in just praying about, would God have us be generative across the state? It's interesting too when you bring in outside people like Chris and Jeff and Brad. I mean, I think we all agree that there are a lot of good churches in lots of towns in Montana. So this is no like we're going to go save the world. And at the same time, I think what's been meaningful to me is this, to see outsiders come in and say, there's something unique that God is doing here, and that may benefit other places in being generative and creating like-minded churches, not mirror copies, but like-minded churches in those communities. That's exciting to me.
Yeah. And while that's exciting to me, like I said, it's just the exciting part of, we have so much to give, let's share it.
Yeah.
And you know, how that path actually turns out, you know, we're going to have to rely on prayer and being open-minded to where we're led. And
yeah, I guess, I mean, to get real specific, I mean, the council's working on right now just how much emergency reserve can we like earmark, I guess, for church planning. That's an ongoing conversation. And then obviously we're going to have to make a decision. So the application's due July 1. What was it? We would know, really you wouldn't know until November whether or not you were given a grant. There's like some preliminary stuff, but I think you would know if you really sucked by like September. And then if you make, it seems like, wasn't there like 2 cuts, right? There's like you're out, and then those that remain then are vetted for the ensuing couple months. Isn't that how it was?
Yeah, I understood it that you submit by July 1 an application, and then it sounds like there's maybe a I'll call it a discussion period.
Yeah.
And there was kind of a cut maybe mid-August.
Is that when it was? Okay.
Where they were going
to
do some more questions.
Yeah.
And work through it with you a little bit more if they had questions about your plan, and then you'd know by November, and then funding would start in January. And that being said, they recognize that even though the funding starts in January, a residency might not actually start until mid-year, depending on, when the resident's available. And also it sounded like, if you went through the process and then determined it wasn't a go for January, so that would be, say, 2027, you wouldn't have to go through this whole process again. You could carry that over to
reapply.
Yeah, to 2028.
Yeah, and really, I mean, their preference is that your target audience for residents are seminary grads, right? But then there's room for that to be people with a lot of church experience and maybe an incomplete graduate degree. And that's one of their stipulations, is that the resident has to be basically full-time.
Mm-hmm.
They have to be doing real work. They're not interns, but also they have to be done with their seminary graduate degree before the residency's over. And residency, it seemed like they preferred 2, but they allow for 3-year residencies.
Yeah.
And I wondered, is that just a volume game, or why? Because to our conversation earlier, 2 years isn't that long.
Yeah.
But I guess not every residency is a church planting residency. So there's that too. If you was just a residency of you're going to come learn the in and out of this church, then I guess 2 years is probably more than sufficient.
Yeah. Yeah, I did. There was one point in the conference where I got the impression that, yes, people coming out of seminary, but then also just hearing the experiences of people in the room that have already started residency programs. There were some people that said, you really want to work within your network too. Just because there might be someone you know of, or I don't know.
Yeah,
someone who knows someone.
Yeah.
Work with your other relationships too.
True.
Looking for that.
Yeah, someone called potentially from within, people from the marketplace who have this desire to shift. I mean, there's just lots of directions. I mean, in some ways, I'm very persuaded by the model, because I feel like that's, without trying, that's what I did. The catch is I did it for 9 years, but then again, I was in my late 20s when I came here, so I don't know. It's kind of hard to. I guess this is the way God does things: is it's hard to put it in a bottle and make it predictable time after time after time as to what God's going to do.
Yeah,
it's a unique. In your world, how do you differentiate the person who can do upper management versus the person who brings tons of value and is just as awesome and just as all the things, but isn't made for upper management? And because you don't want it to be a value statement. Like, not everyone who's called to pastoral ministry is called to lead churches or plant churches, but is there a parallel in your world?
Kind of. I think, I see this a lot in my work, where people come in and some are the type that would go on to be a leader. Some lead better in place, and some just aren't meant to be leaders. And I think it's just you have to know up front what's important, what traits are important of a leader. Because you can have someone that is really technically strong at their job and even communicates really, really well, and they're in their position and they do it very well, but just because they know the technical skills really well doesn't mean they can lead really well. So I think you just have to really discern that before you're searching for a person. what the important traits are.
Yeah.
And make sure you incorporate that into however you're searching, whether that be however you're putting it out there, if it's something similar to like a job posting, and how you're having discussions with potential applicants. I guess that's how it correlates in my world.
Yeah.
But you just have to have a really clear knowledge up front of what you're looking for.
What would you say are the qualifications of a church planner?
Oh, I actually started, I don't know if church planner, but when we were sitting in the conference, I was writing down certain traits that I thought, were going to be important. Open to learning, a self-motivator, a self-starter, someone who's accountable, someone who's humble, high relational capacity.
Which doesn't mean extrovert, in my opinion.
No, it
In fact,
doesn't.
I think most of the people that I know that have high relational capacities aren't extroverts.
No, they need that might roll into my next one, is a boundary for self-care. Because a lot of introverts are good at relationships, but they need to know when they need to step away to regroup
That's
their
a good
energy.
point. That's a really good point.
Empathy, able to build trust, resilient. And then at the very end, I just put, what is their calling?
Yeah. That's good. Wow. You should make sure you don't throw I've stared at my little notebook several times and like, do I throw this away? And don't throw that away. That's good. Yeah.
And I'm, that was just things I was thinking of at the conference and
Yeah.
during various discussions. I just kept adding to that list.
Stan Simmons used to always say, lead pastors have to be able to lead, preach, and pray. That was his thing. And I'm like, man, I think that's still probably, they've got to, you've got to have a penchant for learning, but also a desire to grow as a communicator. That's part of this that I don't like, is because anytime these conversations happen, if you're not careful, you're inadvertently creating a hierarchy of value that somehow lead pastors or church planners are more important than other roles, and that's just not the case. It's a crucial role. But all of them are crucial. Like, we'd be in a lot of trouble without every one of the people on staff. So
Yeah, all important, just different characteristics and different strengths, but really that's what makes it all work. You have the whole team and people have different strengths, and together you do it well.
Yeah. How was the food?
How was the food? Some of it was okay.
Yeah.
Some of it was salty. The barbecue was good, although my burnt ends, if you want something burnt, I can burn something.
Yeah. No, I think that was the burnt ends we got to go to Q39 with Patrick Wildman, who pastors a church there, which was fun. Yeah, I would say it was good. It was pretty good barbecue. The conference food was, it's funny, I sit next to a guy at the dinner that they served us. When he finished, he's like, "That is such good food." And I looked at Doris's plate and I looked at mine and I was like, we just did the cut and push method. I still don't know what the white stuff was, whether those were potatoes or grits. I never tasted them, so I don't want to know.
Yeah. I was going with polenta.
Oh, that's right, polenta. Yeah. I'm really glad they had that good cheese tray right before that. That's why I wasn't hungry. Yeah. Well, thank you for, first of all, you took a lot of time off work, and that was a deal. So thank you.
Yeah.
It was fun.
It was fun. I like to use my brain in this way.
Yeah, it's really good to have you in that way. And I guess if you're listening to this, I know Rex listens. I don't know if anybody else does. I just say that because Rex is always the one that brings them up and talks about how much he appreciates these. I think we would really value your prayers. This is big stuff, and I feel like what we've done thus far is just take the next step, and that was go to DC, and then take the next step, and that was go to Made to Flourish. And if you'd asked me at the end of Monday, I should ask this to you as a question. Because at the end of Monday, I know I was really discouraged. What would you describe yourself as?
At the end of Monday, it just left me. I came in with some questions, thinking I would have them answered on Monday. And I left the end of Monday with even more questions.
Yeah.
Because the conference was Monday and Tuesday.
Yeah. I felt horrible because I was just looking at you and Doris going, I just completely wasted your time. But then it all, for me, I think it came together on Tuesday.
I agree.
And I guess we've talked about, like, they kind of buried the lead. They don't really talk about the funding side of things till the very end. But once you say that out loud, you're like, oh, for obvious reasons. Like, tell people on the front end that you might give them as much as $250,000. They're going to stop hearing everything you've said. So I thought they did a great job of casting vision. Andrew and Bethany, were those the two main communicators?
Yeah.
They were extraordinary communicators, I thought, and warm.
Yeah.
And then, was it Johnny?
Johnny.
What was his last name? He had an iconic...
Daigle.
Johnny Daigle. I was trying to tell somebody yesterday, and I said Rocket, and I was like, it couldn't have been that. That's like a brand, but that guy was... Yeah, it was good. So, I'm rambling. If you're listening, we would just love for you to pray with us and pray for the council as we're discerning next steps. And really, I guess we have to make a decision real quick. Are we going to apply for this? And then go from there. It could be... The other thing that's exciting is there could be like 7 or 8 C4SO churches that are doing this, which will create its own kind of energy and inertia and camaraderie, and I think that could be really fun. Trinity has one already in Atlanta. Ben is funded already at Vintage in Pasadena. And there's several C4SO churches, as I understand it, are going to apply. So, yeah. Anything else? You get the last word.
I don't have a last word.
Oh.
I think we covered a lot there.
Yeah. Thank you.
If you'd like to learn more about Narrate Church, find us online at narratechurch.org.
You can also look us up on Facebook or Instagram. Thanks for listening.